The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about automatic cleaners and how you should have one in your service accounts. And I'll go over some of the better cleaners and, of course, the cleaner categories if you're new to pool ownership or to the service industry. I'll also break down the categories of cleaners for you so you get some idea of the best choices out there. Pool Service Pro. Open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro. There used to be only 3 categories, but there's a 4th category that I think I should touch on, and I'll just go through the categories. You have suction side cleaners, pressure side cleaners, robotic pool cleaners, and then you have the surface pool cleaners. And this is an emerging market that was kind of stagnated for a while, but has reemerged with some new surface cleaners that are affordable and reliable, and I'll go over those a little bit later. But let me start with the most popular one, at least in my area, which is the suction side cleaner. And this is the cleaner type that acts a lot like a manual vacuum hose connected to your pool, and it runs when the filter is running. So let's say you have your pool running for 10 hours a day, and then the cleaner should run for that period of time. However, if you have a variable speed pump, on the lower speeds, the cleaner is not going to move too well. They do make a couple cleaners for VS pumps or for pumps that have lower suction, but the majority of cleaners aren't going to work unless you're at 2100 or 2400 or 2600 RPMs, depending on the cleaner. Certain cleaners need more RPMs or a higher speed. Other cleaners work on a lower speed, but regardless, all the suction cleaners need a pretty good speed on your VS pump to work effectively. Now, if you have a single speed pump, there's really nothing to worry about. It'll have plenty of power for most of these cleaners. Popular brands, of course, are Hayward, Pentair, and Zodiac or Floridra. And Polaris is another popular suction cleaner brand now that they rebranded their Zodiac cleaners. It's kind of complicated, but I'll just give you the top cleaners to make it easy for you. I think if you're looking for the top of the line cleaner, the Polaris Max or Atlas would be number 1. Because this cleaner is designed for full coverage of the pool. And if you're looking for a cleaner that's reliable, doesn't quite get full coverage because it doesn't climb the walls to the water line, then I would say the Hayward Pool Cleaner, Aquanaut Phoenix, they're all the same cleaner, they just have a different shell for different outlets or different markets for their cleaner. But it's the Hayward Pool Cleaner, Aquanaut, and Phoenix, and that would be a really solid choice for most pools. But of course, Polaris does have the edge now with their Atlas and Max cleaner, which is a redesigned MX8 cleaner. Now, when the MX8 first came out, I remember when it came out too. It was, I think I'm going to kind of try to guess here, 2010, 2008, there was the cleaner that came on the market. It was the MX8, and, it was really good. I liked it. It worked effectively. But there was one drawback with this cleaner, and it was kind of a major drawback after a while. Besides the fact that the parts would wear out more often than the Hayward Pool Cleaner, the biggest drawback was the fact that long string-like debris would clog the engine, which is basically the part that operates the cleaner, and so the cleaner would just stop and not move for a week if anything, like 8 or 10 inches got in there. Any kind of long string-like leaf debris would clog the cleaner, and so it took Zodiac a long time to redesign it, and 2 years ago they came out with the Max and Atlas cleaner. And it's been something that's been pretty revolutionary for them because now they have a redesigned engine, the Halo engine they call it, and nothing really will stop this cleaner. However, I've noticed that if you have a brand new PebbleTech pool, sometimes a pebble will get into the engine and stop it, but rocks will stop just about any cleaner, so it's not like the rocks are a problem. Now, it will stop just about any cleaner except for the Hayward Pool Cleaner because it has a V-Flex turbine. So that's good for all types of debris, acorns, rocks, leaf debris, but it doesn't climb walls nearly as well as the Polaris Max or Atlas cleaner climbs the walls. So if you're looking for full coverage, I would definitely go that direction. Another drawback with the Hayward Pool Cleaner Aquanaut Phoenix, and this is something that's just recent in developing, and it has nothing to do with the cleaner itself, but a lot of the newer pools have these Antivortex main drains. They look like a vegetable strainer on the bottom of the pool. These cleaners have trouble with these because they don't have a wide path and they'll get hung up on them sometimes. So in most cases, I would suggest getting the Polaris Atlas or Max cleaner. The Polaris Max is sold at Leslie's, and then the Atlas is available at your local supplier. These aren't available online, or they're not supposed to be available online, so you have to go to a physical store to get these cleaners. And you can still get the Zodiac MX8 Elite or MX8 online, but Polaris is selling these strictly at the brick and mortar or your wholesaler to just kind of keep sales, basically they want to keep the brick and mortar stores in business, and so they are trying to have products specifically for those stores. Now, if you have a fiberglass or vinyl pool and you wanted to use one of these cleaners that I mentioned here, they're not quite as effective as, say, a bouncing type cleaner. And so these are two categories of suction cleaners. I should have probably said that. The two that I described earlier are geared type cleaners, and then there are bouncing cleaners, and I guess the most famous bouncing cleaner is the Pentair Creepy Crawly, and customers still call just about every cleaner the Creepy Crawly because it was kind of ingrained. Pentair was one of the first to come out with this cleaner, and it dominated the industry back in the 80s and 90s. If you did service back in the 80s, it would be the white model, and then in the 90s, they have the kind of light blue model that came out. And of course, almost every pool had either this or the Hayward Navigator, and then back then, in the 90s, I'm saying, and it's one of the things that, they're kind of dated now, but they're still on the market. Creepy Crawly, or Pentair revised or revamped the Creepy Crawly about, I think, 10 or 12 years ago. They have a new version. The Hayward Navigator is still basically the same, although you can get one with a V-Flex turbine. And the only reason why I don't recommend the Hayward Navigator is that these cleaners that I mentioned first are better than the Hayward Navigator in my opinion. Although the Navigator is not a bad cleaner, it was one of the first successful gear type cleaners. And yes, there is gears in the Navigator. They're on the top of the cleaner. There's also a gearbox inside the cleaner, albeit it's not a very sophisticated gear system like the Hayward Pool Cleaner. There are gears in there. So the Navigator usually won't get stuck in step areas or corners. However, when the gears start to wear out, they will get stuck in the pool and not turn effectively. But it's not a bad cleaner, and if you can find one, on the cheap, if there's one for sale, I definitely would pick one up. It's not something that I would entirely rule out. And a lot of people like them in Arizona and Nevada because they're really great with dirt. They're almost like the best cleaner for dirt, in my opinion, because of the way they're designed to clean the entire pool. And they're one of the standard type vacuums. So again, it's not something I would rule out. But for a fiberglass and vinyl pool, I would definitely go with a bouncing type cleaner. I wouldn't necessarily say the Creepy Crawly would be my first choice because it is a loud cleaner. There's a flapper in there that makes a lot of noise and people get irritated by it. So I would say a Zodiac cleaner like the Zodiac Ranger or G3 would be my top choice for those pool surface types. And you can also get these for a regular plaster or PebbleTech pool. They work effectively. They're just not the smartest cleaners, and they do sometimes tend to get hung up in step areas or corners that are sharp. Doesn't have any way to navigate its way out of there. There's no gears, and so it's one of those things where you're just going to have to live with the fact that it may get stuck in the pool on certain pools. And they don't really have too much trouble with the Antivortex main drains because of the pad on the bottom is pretty wide and is something that usually, unless the main drain is operating, it's not going to cause a problem with these cleaners. And what I mean by operating, that there's suction to that main drain. Now let me switch over to the pressure side cleaners. And there are two types of pressure side cleaners. There's one that's called a return side cleaner. That one, the most popular model, is the Polaris 360. And this one will operate just on your return jets. If you have 1.5-inch return lines, this will work perfectly fine. And it's designed for larger debris. It has a big opening on the bottom, and it uses a return line to power it. So the water pressure from your return line powers the Polaris 360, and it operates very similar to the standard pressure side cleaner Now, the only drawback with the pressure side cleaner is that usually in most cases, and this is 99% of the time I should say, the booster pump needs to be installed when they build the pool. So the pressure side cleaner requires a separate dedicated pressure side booster pump, I should say. So it's a dedicated return jet where the booster pump is connected to, and it uses water pressure to propel the cleaner in the pool. There's something called venturi, which are jets on the bottom, and this is what shoots the debris into the cleaner and the water pressure propels the cleaner around the bottom of the pool, either through a chain or gears. It'll move the cleaner. The wheels will start spinning once the water pressure is activated. Now, some of the drawbacks, again, besides the fact that you have to have it installed when you build the pool, is that you're running two pumps at the same time. So as far as energy efficiency, it's not the greatest. However, most pressure side cleaners just need about 2 hours of runtime to clean an entire pool. Even a large pool only requires 2 or 3 hours with the pressure cleaner because it moves so rapidly in the pool. So think of the suction cleaner as kind of a turtle because it doesn't move very fast in the pool. And the pressure side cleaner is more like a rabbit. It just moves around and it's very rapid because it's using a dedicated pressure line. Now the return side cleaner also moves pretty fast in the pool, but not quite as fast as a dedicated pressure cleaner. Now, can you add a pressure cleaner after the fact? You can. You can actually, if you have a side port, you can actually modify that side port in the plumbing of the pool and redirect that line to a return line into a dedicated booster pump. It can be done fairly easily if there is a side port at the pool. What the side port is designed for is for a suction cleaner. Most of the pools built after 1995, or I would just say after 2000 to be safe, have a dedicated side port put in when the builder builds the pool for a suction side cleaner. At least on the West Coast, this is very common to put that in. It doesn't cost the builder much to put one in, and it's something that they usually do at the build. And you can convert that suction side port to a pressure side by replumbing it to a pressure side. If you look at the equipment, you get the idea of what I'm kind of describing, and it can be done. But typically pressure cleaners are built in when they build the pool. I like pressure cleaners because they have a large debris capacity. They have a pretty large opening on the bottom. You can pick up very large debris. Even rodents and lizards can be picked up. And you can get a sand silt bag to pick up finer dirt and debris with the pressure side cleaner. So I really like them. I think they're really effective in cleaning a pool. And it's one of the things where it's kind of area dependent. I think Texas and Florida, East Coast has a lot more pressure cleaners. And then on the West Coast, you have a lot more suction side cleaners. But they're really effective. And they're more expensive, of course, because they're a little bit different than the suction side cleaner. But to me, they're really effective. Now, can you go from a pressure cleaner to a suction cleaner? You can. In most cases, you're going to have to connect the suction cleaner to the skimmer and not the side port because of that reason that you had a pool built for a pressure cleaner, not a suction cleaner. And then the last category is the robotic pool cleaner. And of course, this is not an emerging market because it's a pretty well-established market now. What's emerging are the cordless cleaners. Over the last 2 or 3 years, there's been a big push towards cordless robotic pool cleaners. And so those you're going to find on the market. The reason why most pool pros don't like robotic pool cleaners is that it requires the customer to actually initiate the cleaning cycle, put the cleaner in the pool. I don't mind them because typically when I get to a pool, I'll clean the pool and then I'll run the robot and the customer will take it out and, clean out the debris basket. Sometimes I'll clean it out. Sometimes they run it once a week. But basically, you can service a pool with a robotic pool cleaner fairly easily. The customer should be putting it in at least once or twice a week. And when you do the service stop, you'll put it in the pool. What are the robotic pool cleaners that I like? I think the best way to categorize them is by price point. Anything over $1,000 is probably great for any pool owner. Everything less than $1,000 is something that may have some drawbacks or maybe not get full coverage or may not work as well as any cleaner above $1,000. So for me, the price point is a big factor and a deciding factor on how good the robotic pool cleaner is just like a vehicle. If you buy a car, the more expensive model has more features. The least expensive model has less features. The cleaner is over 1,000, and I mean probably well over 1,000, like the Polaris Alpha IQ Plus. You can program a weekly cleaning cycle for 7 days in there. So a lot of the Dolphin cleaners also have programmable cycles. Now the cordless cleaners don't have this advantage, or have a disadvantage. They don't have quite a lot of programmable cycles because they run off of a battery. You can do some have these kind of weird cycles where it runs for 45 minutes and turns off for 2 days and will run again for 7 days, by just turning on briefly so the battery doesn't discharge completely. So they're not quite there with the corded cleaner with the weekly program, which I like. And these are the ones I would recommend for service accounts. Anything that you can program, like the Dolphin Proteus DX4 or DX5, most of the Polaris cleaners, the higher end Polaris cleaners, have weekly programs in them. So that's the ones I would lean towards if I was selling them to a customer. That way they're ideal for pool service. But regardless of which cleaner type you are leaning towards in your area, you should have a cleaner for your service accounts because it just makes your job easier. And it gives that pool that clean look, not just when you're there, but all week long. So it's one of those things where they're helpful for pool service, and they'll also keep the pool clean all week long, which the customers enjoy. And it's not going to take your job away. Pool service is something that is done for people that don't have the time or the effort they want to put into cleaning the pool or servicing it, balancing the water. So it's one of those segments where if you do have a cleaner in the pool, it's going to enhance your service and it's going to make the pool swim ready every day. The way I look at it is if you have a house cleaner, it's not like you're not going to clean your house for a week and do the dishes or, do any kind of cleaning and just leave it for the house cleaner every week. You're going to do some kind of work yourself. And that's kind of like what the automatic cleaner does for pool service. It'll do some work during the week. And then when you get there, you're going to balance the water, check the chemistry, of course, make sure there's no problems, make sure everything is clean, and you're going to do a cleaning of the pool as well. So it's not like it's eliminating your job, it's just making your job easier and really giving that pool, again, that swim ready feel and look. Whenever the customer wants to use the pool, they know that they can just get in there and it's going to be really a nice experience. Versus a pool without a cleaner, you get there, you spend your time cleaning it, but as the week goes on, the pool's going to fill up with debris, and it's not something that's really good to look at in most cases. And the last thing I should touch on, the surface cleaners really quick. And the surface cleaners are something that have emerged in the market that I basically think that this is something that more and more of these companies are going to come on the market because the technology is there and a lot of the stuff has been established by the company that was called Solar Breeze back in the late 2000s. I think 2000, I'm just guessing here, but 2012, 2014, when they first came on the market. There was a few others that came and went, and Solar Breeze changed over to Ariel, and they're still selling their product, but I think the Beta and iPeer has a surface cleaner now that's really good, and the Beta has been proven to keep updating it and making the product better. So there are some really good surface cleaners on the market. The original Solar Breeze is no longer available, which I thought was a great cleaner, except a lot of the mechanical parts were really tiny and hard to replace yourself. I tried rebuilding one myself and it was just very difficult. It's almost like working with a kind of a model boat. The parts were really made more towards like someone who tinkers with those model cars and boats. And the newer ones like the iPeer, they have detachable modular motors, so they're much easier to fix, and it's something that you may want to consider getting. Now, there are a few drawbacks to the surface cleaners, and that is if you have a suction side cleaner or pressure cleaner in there with the hoses, it doesn't navigate them too well. I mean, it'll work fairly well getting around the hoses because it's programmed to sense objects or sense the wall of the pool, but it's not quite as effective in a pool with a cleaner in there, in my opinion. Although they're designed to work in a pool with an automatic cleaner, they're much better in a pool where there's no cleaner and they can navigate the entire surface without being obstructed. The other problem with these cleaners is that a lot of times they'll get pulled into the skimmer because the skimmer suction overpowers those little motors on back. And even if it tries to reverse itself out of the skimmer while the pool is running, it's one of the problems that you're going to run into with these cleaners. There are a couple ways to counter this. Now, when I had pools with Solar Breezes, I would add rocks to where they had the trichlor tablet holder. They actually had like a slot where you could put a trichlor tablet in the side of it, and that would weigh the cleaner down, and sometimes that would help it. You can also keep the water level higher in the pool with these surface cleaners, and they seem to navigate the skimmer better. So if you keep the water level higher, it'll float higher in the pool, and it won't get sucked into the skimmer because it'll kind of not be able to get into the skimmer at that point. And I think that's the main drawback with the surface cleaner, is that it could get sucked into the skimmer. The ones I would recommend would be the Beta, which is a really good surface cleaner, and they're really affordable. They have one you can plug in now also if you don't get enough sunlight in your backyard, or the Apier Scuba surface cleaner. That's a good one as well. I don't think the Ariel is still in production. I haven't seen anywhere for sale, and if you go to their site, it shows that they're all out of stock. So you may have trouble getting the Ariel cleaner, but I really think the other two cleaners are probably a little better at this point as far as emerging technology and, as far as customer service. If you have a Beta that goes bad, you can actually send it back in and they'll send you another one, or they'll send you parts. So they have pretty good customer service. I'm not sure about iPair, if they, how far their service extends to because it just came out this season, and it's a fairly new surface cleaner. There's also a couple other ones that are out there now too. I haven't tried those yet, but I would say that the surface cleaner is something to look at if you want to stop the debris from falling to the bottom of the pool before the cleaner gets it. And they're, again, better as a standalone type cleaner. And then you would use probably a robotic pool cleaner, put it in there for 2 or 3 hours, and then take it out and let the surface cleaner keep the debris from actually falling down to the bottom of the pool. So they are effective, and I think it's a smart idea, especially if you have a lot of leaf debris that falls into your pool or bugs on your surface. And they also do a great job with dog hair. So if you have dogs that shed and there's a lot of hair in the pool, these surface cleaners are ideal for that. And there is a market space for them. I like them. I think it leaves the surface crystal clear, and it's basically running all day long on the surface of the pool, just like your automatic suction cleaners working on the bottom. These cleaners will work on the surface of the pool and give you that really nice, like you just skim the pool, or you're skimming the pool all day long with your leaf rake. So that's a quick rundown of the different cleaners. You have your suction cleaners, which are popular in my area, pressure cleaners, more of the central and east coast, and then robotic pool cleaners, which are popular around the whole country, but I think they're more popular in the areas where they have a shorter season. East Coast primarily has a lot of popularity because your seasons are shorter, and the robotic pool cleaner does a great job with both leaf debris and dirt in most cases. And I have plenty of podcasts kind of isolating these cleaners specifically. I have podcasts on suction cleaners, pressure cleaners, and robotic pool cleaners. You can find those by going to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com, clicking on the podcast icon. When you get the search box, just type in robotic cleaner or suction cleaner, and you'll see, 20 or so podcasts on each category of cleaner for you. And you can take a deeper dive into these cleaner types on your own. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great week, and God bless. Real quick, if you're not using pool service software, try Skimmer free for 30 days at getskimmer.com/poolguy. Again, that's getskimmer.com/poolguy. Skimmer, everything you need to run your pool service business all in one app. Pool Service Pro. Open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro.